Well, Share happens to be the preeminent conference at this time that has a focus on mainframe, and they bring in a broad spectrum. There's other conferences out there that IBM might have, in fact, that are very, very good, but they tend to be more IBM-centric. Here at Share, the knowledge is spread out, what you can learn is spread out, and therefore it brings a wider diversity of people and conversations that can be had. Over the last 10 years, Linux, even if they try to stay mainframe focused, you can't help but have to bring in all the other parts of the environment and how they're affecting how the mainframe runs. So absolutely, VM, whatever the technology may be, if it affects the mainframe, they have to discuss it, and they have to discuss how we take advantage or use or interface with, but absolutely they have to broaden it out.
The mainframe, for all the years that it's been out there, is the system of record, as has been said. And really, our largest companies are reliant on the mainframe. And everything, I'm mainframe centric, but everything seems to evolve around the mainframe, at least in big business. Well, I think of cloud kind of as a buzzword. I mean, there's always hardware behind a cloud, and whether it's a private cloud or a public cloud, there is room and dynamicism of growth, perhaps in the mainframe for the cloud. As a matter of fact, we're looking to come out with our own cloud initiatives at 21st Century Software. So it's not I don't see it as much as a threat as I see it as an opportunity, and it's something that we can grow into.
For the most part, I think we've been the cloud. So I really don't see where mainframe has a problem here. I think where the mainframe has a problem is how we have always had a problem of letting the world know how great we are. And the fact that we've been doing this anyway for a long time. I think of VM. We've been doing VM for a long time. It's not some novel idea. The cloud is not a novel idea. It's just a new word that's attached to something we've been doing for a long time. So I think when you talk about having a cloud initiative, we're just taking advantage of mainframe capability and doing some things around it and providing it to the market, but it's still a mainframe. I think what happens is a lot of times people have invested a tremendous amount of money in trying to be highly available and being able to flip from one side to another and get that sense of I'm going to be okay no matter what happens. And they do that with a lot of money. And so when it comes down to the actual applications, they haven't really considered all the nuances of these legacy applications that were never built for active-active. If you notice, all the literature around high availability always notes active-active applications, right? So they're really talking about databases and those that have kind of been retro either by IBM or within the organization to be active-active. They're not talking about batch. They're not talking about a lot of the applications that run in the environment. So when you have an event, when you have those types of applications, you're going to have open files, and when you have those open files, you're not going to be recovering as easy as one would think. And so that is actually coming to light. You see some of the hardware vendors trying to come up with some CDP solutions, but even those solutions aren't going to the application level. There's still this ignorance of the application. And so there's been more of an increased interest in what we're doing because we're tying the technology to the application. That's a company problem sometimes because infrastructure is siloed and applications are siloed over here. They're not really talking. So when they do have these issues, there was a slide that I saw yesterday by Hitachi that showed that there's at least 58 backups of everything because no one trusts that the other person's getting the backup, and that's really great for the hardware vendors because they're getting to sell all the hardware associated. But the point Hitachi made in that slide was even with all that, you don't know that the applications themselves are recoverable, and that's what you need to get to at the end of the day. So I think awareness that high availability isn't the end-all be-all is there, but whether companies are willing to actually unsilo enough to make that adjustment is something to be seen in a go-forward basis. most organizations now have removed DR backups from their strategy. You go to high availability, they've taken their DR out. And what we get told is, well, it's the application's responsibility. So then my question to them is, have you ever tested their run restarts? Have you ever tested the process that you now say you are going to depend on for your recoverability? And the answer to that is no.
We need to expand the concept beyond application level recovery and basically job level. And even beyond that, a more finite level would be to recover batch applications at a step level. And these are the things that we're looking at. We're trying to solve these problems at 21st century.
As an add-on to that, it was interesting to watch in Hitachi's presentation again yesterday that they showed that the application takes its backup, and the backup takes a certain amount of time. And so if that application actually has a problem, you're really only as good as that application's backup, which could have taken in and of itself 8 hours. So if you had an event during that 8-hour backup, you're really going to have to fall back to the backup they took the prior day, which means that application is now at 24 to 36-hour recovery. So you're really not improving your overall ability to recover by falling back to the application. And the other problem that even Hitachi noted is everybody kind of depends on the scheduler, which is a lot of human effort. So again, they basically put 3 nines up and 5 nines, I'm sorry, and 5 nines mean that you get 5 minutes a year, right? So that means you have 5 minutes a year to get everybody in the room, look at a scheduler, and figure out where you're at. Otherwise, you're totally blown out of your SLA. Impossible. So you have to put tools in place. And it was nice to see a hardware vendor actually acknowledging that and seeing that they are going to take you very close. They have their flashes, they have all of these things, but they're also willing to work with someone like us to say, let's take our flash and take it to the next level. Straightforward. We come out and we'll take a week. We'll actually have to put our product on your system, but what that allows us to do is really show you some recovery simulations that today maybe you don't even know. So we'll simulate whether or not you had a disaster. By virtue of some information that we're going to pull in through SMF and other means, we're going to be able to see what your applications look like, what your backups look like, tie them together and show you if you had an event, what would your real recovery time be within that application. And if you think about it, auditors are concerned about this, right? Because auditors want to know, are my key applications as recoverable as they can be? And if you see through a demonstration, through an assessment that we can do for you that you're not, you then have 2 choices. Accept it and put it as part of your, okay, we're going to have to deal with this, or do something about it. And so we give you the opportunity to have that information in your hands so that you can take it to the people that need to know. The simulation, if you're running the product 24/7, can be done at any time against any application, against month-end, quarter-end. You've put a new application, you've made some upgrades, you want to make sure that the processes surrounding it are okay. Simulate it. We all know that everyone makes sure their tests are successful because the auditors need them to be, right? Everyone does that. So what this does is it allows you to not give it to an auditor and really adjust to what the real issues will be if you have a problem. And that, I think, is huge because in a fully replicated environment, you fail over at a very slow time in order to assure that you won't have a problem. That's not testing whether or not the application mid-batch will come up. This allows you to kind of figure out what you would be like and make adjustments. Yeah.
And then it also augments the time that you do spend off-site doing disaster recovery testing because you can pre-test your test and use that precious time in a more comprehensive way.